Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be working with 8-bit pixel art again. And this time we're going to be creating our tiles and platform pieces to bring together into our game. And we're going to keep this pretty simple today using Photopea. You can use Photoshop for this as well. And we're going to be working with a 225 pixel by 225 pixel, so square image. And I've included a template with some artwork already in it that we're going to use just to trace over. That way, if you're not really artistically inclined, we could still build this out using our pencil tool and colors. So we're going to open up, go to photopea.com, and we're going to do a file open. And the file that you're going to download is called 8-bit objects template. And I've included two layers here which will work on both, but I just wanted to show you the difference. We have a template with grass, and we're going to make this transparent where the white is. That way our background shows through. And the other is a brick that repeats. So this would go across, and this would be like a platform, and then the bricks underneath. So you would put one next to each other, and because of where the placement is, this will continue and repeat. So we're going to start with the brick, and then we can export it. We can keep it all in the same file as well. So make sure you have your file open. And what I'm going to do is turn the visibility off on the template grass. I have my template brick selected. Under my opacity, I'm going to bring it down to, I don't know, about 35, 40%, somewhere in there. That way I can work on top of it. Now, I could use my rectangle tool and draw lots of rectangles here, but I'm going to end up with a lot of layers. So I'm going to create a new layer at the very top. So I'll select template grass, come down to the bottom, and click on new layer. And I'm going to call this bricks. We're not going to be using any gradients. We're going to be really trying to do this with just pixel art. And I'm going to grab my pencil tool. Now your pencil tool is under the brush tool. And up at the top, it defaults to size 15. You can see it's a pretty big size, but the hardness is circular. So we want to go square. And that's still a little too big. So let's bring this down to about 15. A little bit more. Let's do 12. Yeah, 12 is going to be perfect. And I'm going to start at the top and just start drawing. So we need to pick some colors, and you can use the same exact colors we have here, or if we come down and click once on the color picker, we can pick using our selector. So I'm going to start with kind of a little bit more brick red. Hit OK. And I'm going to draw. Now if you notice, sometimes it's a little tough to draw on a straight line. So if you click, hold with the mouse, and then hit the shift key, it will draw a constraint line. You won't end up with that little line right there. We could fix that. We'll draw over it. So I'll do the same thing here. I'll click, hold, and I'm holding the shift key. Same thing again. It's okay if you mess up a little. We can touch this up. So there's our top kind of mortar. Now let's do the insides here. We kind of have a lighter yellow, so I'll come down and click once. And I'm going to grab kind of a gold. Many of these are going to be kind of like gold bricks. And click, hold, and shift. And if you have trouble with it, you can always just paint with it too. Pixel by pixel. Now if you're having trouble and you need to zoom in, come over and grab your zoom tool. And this may help. So now I can come in here . That works much better. So click, hold, shift, and drag. You get the nice clean line. Click, hold, shift, and drag. So that turned out good. Now we need another color, and you know, if you need some help here, you can just kind of look over here. I need a kind of a little bit more orangey color. And maybe that. Click, hold, and drag. And we want to make sure these do line up. Did anyone see what happened there? I'm off by a pixel. Right there and there. And what may help you too is if you go under Show, Grid. Nah, this grid's not the best. So I'm going to turn that off. But if we make a mistake there, we can clean that up in a minute. See, I just kind of draw over. Whoops. Now, if I want to fix this right here, because see, these two do not line up. I'm off by just a pixel. I can redraw over that. Now I just got to draw this brown back in and clean up these few little things. We can grab the eyedropper tool, click on the brown, grab my pencil tool again, and I'm doing a lot of click, hold, shift, and drag at the same time. And there are my bricks at the top. Now these pretty much repeat themselves. We could just create one and copy and paste and move it around. So I'm going to start with our very first one here, which is this brick. So let's start with the lighter yellow. Actually, it's more of an orange, maybe a little bit. We'll do yellow. You can play with the colors. It's half the fun here. And I'll click, hold, shift, drag. And I really don't like that, so if we do a edit, undo, I'm going to grab a different color. I think I'm going to go with kind of the brick reds here. Just something a little different. Yeah, there we go. Oh, anyone see what happened there? I'm off by a pixel, so I'm going to undo that. And I like what that looks like. So now, just kind of sticking with my color pattern here, I'm going to go a little darker with the next one. And then we need to fill the rest with, and we'll do another red. So we're going to go kind of the brick, you know, like these are going to be bricks. So a little bit lighter. I'm holding the shift key down after I click, drag, shift. And pretty happy with that. Now in between here, we need to get a darker color. So even darker than this red, I'm going to go almost like a dark brown black, just so we get a contrast here. Oop, I'll undo that. You can always do Command Z. So click, hold, shift, drag, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Up, undo. Remember, you can always do edit, undo at the top. And we now have really our brick. And if I zoom out, if I hold down the Alt key, you can kind of see my pattern here. A little different than the pattern we had here. But, you know, something we can play with the colors. So now I want to take this brick and we're going to copy paste it. So we use the exact same one over and over. I don't have to redraw all these. I mean, you could if you wanted just for practice. But even up here, I could have just created one and then copy and pasted. So I'm going to take my rectangle select tool and I start it up here in the corner, make sure it only grabs the brick that we just created. And I'll do an edit, copy, and an edit, paste. Creates a new layer. I can take my move tool and you can see here it's a little off. We're slightly off, I think, with our measurements, but that's okay. We can fix this. You can see we're off about 12 pixels altogether. That's not the end of the world. We can actually change the size of this in a minute. So now we have layer 1 and bricks. Well, I don't want them on separate layers. I just want them all together because I can now paste again. And you can see here we have another brick. Well, this time I want to line this up so it will repeat over on the other side. I'll paste again. Whoops. Make sure I'm on that layer, then I'll paste. I get another layer. And I'll paste again. And this time, I'm going to let this go off the edge. And because these two line up, it'll make it look like they're repeating. Now down at the bottom, it's really going to match up to these two again. So I'll paste again. I'm using the move tool. I'm dragging it down and dropping into place. You can hold the shift key as well. I'm going to do that one more time. Command V or edit paste. I'll take the move tool. I'll click and drag it into place. Now, the quick fix here would be to kind of redraw these and stretch them out a little and clean it up by this spacing. But I've got a problem, and to redo all this is probably not my best interest, and just in terms of time and everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the size of the canvas. It's 225, so this is about 12 pixels, maybe 15. So what I'm going to do is go up under Image, Canvas Size. And I'm glad this happened. Sometimes you're working, you're not in a perfect, this is not a perfect scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the width to 200. But that would bring up a problem, right? We're not a perfect square anymore. So if you still want a perfect square, we're going to have to redraw this a little bit. Not the end of the world, but I'm just going to do the quick fix. The width, and then the anchor for this. If I do this from the middle, it's going to chop off on both sides. We don't want that. So I'm going to anchor to the left. That way the crop is anchored here, and the crop will happen over here. Height stays the same, 200. Let's see what happens when I hit OK. Watch over here. I think that was too much. So we'll undo. So now we'll do that again. Canvas size, anchors to the left. Let's do 210. Even that's a little too much. Look at the width here. These don't match. So let's try 215. And that was it. I'm just looking. That looks pretty good. So now, when I save this, we would end up with a PNG file. But we got to clean this up. I have all these bricks over here. If I select the first one, hold the Shift key, and go through, I'm clicking on each of these layers all the way down to brick. And if I right-click or Control-click, we can do what's called merge layers. Not flatten image, but merge layers. And that will merge all of those layers together. Now, if we want to add some highlights to this, I can add another layer. And I can grab my pencil tool. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, about half the size, maybe about 5 pixels. And we want a lighter color. So, maybe a light red, kind of a pink. And I can come in here and, oops, maybe add a few little pixels in here. I did it on a new layer, so I'm not messing with the bricks. And they could be random, or they could be, we could have done this just on the brick itself. I'm just kind of doing random ones. Remember, we're working pretty tiny here. Maybe I'll add a little bit darker set in here. A little tougher to see, but they're there. Yeah, just add some randomness to this. I can even add a little bit of green in there, maybe. Maybe we'll go a little darker green. Now, if we zoom out, we're at 300%. There's 100%. And we can add more highlights. Really all in this layer, we can create another layer. And I can come in and say, well, maybe I want a dark green at the top of each of these. Grab my pencil tool again. And I'm going to do the same method as before. Click, drag across. So we can sit here and add little details all the way through. But what I wanted really to show you was using just some simple tools, we can create a tile that we can now bring into our gaming program. We need to save this as a PNG to bring it in. But we can maybe add, these are like little, it's grass hanging over on these bricks, or mold, not mold, but moss or something. Just using that same tool, kind of piecing this together. Now, over here and here, we want to make sure, actually I'll just leave it the way it is, they'll connect together and give it a different look. And I can keep playing with this, and the nice thing is by having this layered, I can always go back to the original. Now I put the grass template in here as well, if you want to play with, kind of mixing and matching some grass. So that's the basics. The last thing we want to do is save as PSD. It'll save it as PSD file. And then we also want to save this or export this as a PNG. This is the file we would bring in. So we have these templates in here that'll help you out. And I'm glad we ran into the problem with the canvas. That allowed us to talk a little bit about the canvas as well. But you can see, simple. I didn't get it overly crazy with anything. There are, if you do a Google search, there's lots and lots of samples out there that you can bring in and draw over. So the same way we did this, you can copy paste in from another document and work from there. So I hope you can take this and use it in your games. If not, maybe just create some basic pixel art as well. Look forward to talking to you and teaching with you next time.